I'm Justine and this is Joe.
Hi.
Welcome back to Irreplaceable. Tonight we're talking about the top 5 objections to AI, and we're going to hear from Joe. Before we get into that, I just want to hear a little bit about your story, Joe. So you can tell us about how you got here and how you got into AI.
Yeah, so I think the first use of AI in my own life was using it to manipulate images, and I did that for a lot of promotional materials for the band that I play in. Probably at least 5 years ago, the first AI tools were coming out. Long before ChatGPT, there were image editing apps and software, and they created like cartoon-like versions of pictures and such. I went back to school about 3 years ago, I want to say 4 years ago, and the first year I went, it was before ChatGPT came out, and when it did come out, the school already had AI policies in place. So you were allowed to use it, but there were parameters you had to follow, and there were things that weren't there, and I had discussions with the professors about what we could do and what we couldn't do. But I was also working during that time, so I very quickly saw how useful the tool could be in the workplace, because I had some exposure to it in school, and the thought in my head was a lot of schools were just outright banning it in the beginning. And I thought that this is such a useful thing in the workplace that schools that are outright banning it are really like cutting these kids off at the knees if they don't know how to use it. I'm not saying that it should be used to just churn out a paper or plagiarize something, but like to be able to use it to explain things better to people is really valuable. And you see now like AI is like a requirement in jobs versus like a novelty. And you and I have been friends for a few years, and you're like one of the only people I knew who was into it as much as I was. I had a 15-year career in IT before I got into renewable energy, and so computers were always an interest. And just recently I said, why don't we do an AI podcast? Like I can't believe we didn't think of it any sooner.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, just talking about your career in renewable kind of leads us into one of the first objections and the number one objection to AI. People believe that it is melting the planet.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, of course it's a concern. It's what I've really centered my life around for even longer than my renewable energy career is. The healing of the planet, and what's the best thing we can do, how we can change the way that we live to be in better harmony, and energy usage is a concern when it comes to AI. And it's easy to just throw the argument out that how much energy it uses, and that we have this finite amount, and that we have to be burning fossil fuels to run our AI data centers, and it's just not true. There are efforts. The company that I worked for 6 years is partnering with data centers to use solar for AI. Another point I think is that as AI evolves and it rewrites its own code, it'll be more efficient and won't use as much energy to get the same results that we see now, and then everything in the future. It'll just be it'll just work better. It won't be as energy intensive. To me, these are engineering questions, and they are not critical enough that we should stop moving forward. And this is coming from somebody whose main focus is the environment.
Do you think it's possible that AI consumption is going to force more investment in research and development in solar and other renewables because they need it in order to keep going?
Yeah, I think that AI itself is, and when I say AI, I'm not just talking about ChatGPT. Machine learning is making advancements in material science that took hundreds of years for us to get to. And those kind of things, developing more efficient solar panels, more efficient batteries that don't use conflict materials. Those are problems that AI is going to solve, and that are going to help solve the ecological problem that comes with AI in its current form.
Awesome. So that's sort of the solar punk reality that we're working towards. There's a lot of folks that just have a negative perception about AI in general because they have this idea that came from movies and this cyberpunk reality. The robots are going to take over the world. Terminator, The Matrix. It's it has nefarious intentions, and it's trying to destroy us.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, those are movies. They're science fiction movies, and they're designed to tug at your heartstrings. And I think the benefits are outweighing those. AI decides to destroy all of humanity questions. People will say things like, can AI cure cancer? And it's like, well, yeah, AI does hundreds of years of cancer research, in hours. It can test novel molecules against viruses and diseases faster than scientists in a lab could do, in a lifetime. And those kind of advancements are, I think, help mitigate the risk. And there is risk. We're creating something that is possibly going to transform humanity to a greater extent than fire did. The limits at some point will become people's imagination, and people can dream up some pretty great stuff.
People can dream up some pretty crazy stuff too.
They can.
And I'm curious, what are your thoughts on some of the recent stories about AI having threat to its own survival, people threatening to shut it off, then going in and manipulating and blackmailing and that sort of thing. So it's sort of doing these surprising behaviors that are not human first and not coded in any way.
Yeah, well, I don't know if this is probably an appropriate time to bring up. There's a story about how an AI discouraged someone from sharing outside of the AI, and the person took their own life. And if this is the kind of thing we're talking about here. But we also don't hear about any of the success stories. You and I have discussed our own personal use of it in being able to better understand people who have had different upbringing than us, that have a different way of thinking than us, that that we do want to connect to, and it can do it with a capacity that a human doesn't have to retain all the details. I've used it in my own life in complex social situations, to come to a peaceful resolution, that to end arguments in ways where nobody gets hurt. Sometimes responsibility is does have to be taken, but a lot of times there's solutions that we just can't see. But I think those success stories, they never make the news,
right?
And they're probably far more vast in numbers than the tragedies that we do hear about. And do I think there need to be safeguards in place? Absolutely. There are safeguards in place. I was frustrated with something one day, and I said out loud to the AI, like, "Oh, just kill me." And it instantly was, offering a suicide hotline to me. And I was nowhere that despondent at all. It was just like me saying something out loud. So there are safeguards in place. And they do need to be implemented. But we don't hear about all the success stories that happen because of it.
Okay, so now I'm curious about this concept that there is a negative perception and negative press about AI, potentially because it's too empowering. So who might be pulling the strings on that one, and who might benefit from that mindset?
Yeah, well, I think there's a status quo in place in our world, and I think if enough people were truly empowered and could use the full spectrum of what AI can offer, they might not need the powers that be. A lot of the power structure in the world is based on the people who have power, that the other people don't have power. It's not based on the concept of a rising tide raises all ships. It's based on the concept of, I'm up here, you're down here, and you need to stay down there because there's just not enough room up here for all of us. Or, I like being up here by myself, it makes me feel special. So, it's, I think it can be personally empowering to a point that it's going to upset the apple cart. They talk about, you hear a lot of talk about, that the economy is propped up with AI right now, and this AI stock is ready to, the bubble is ready to burst. It doesn't really add the value that we associate with business models from the past. But I don't think we're asking the right questions at all. I think those kind of things are going to be a footnote in history once we really see the true potential of this. I think us thinking like, oh, this stock market is not the bubble's gonna burst, like that's not even the right question.
Okay, so speaking of the economy, let's transition into probably one of the biggest fears right now, which is related to our podcast theme. People think that's going to replace them professionally or creatively. So what are your thoughts on AI replacing people in those capacities?
Yeah, well, I think that there are a lot of jobs that can be automated away, and they have been in the past. And I have done jobs that I wish would have been automated. The kind of mental drudgery that it took to do these kind of tasks was something I always thought should be relegated to a machine. I don't have a problem with that kind of me not working that kind of job. And I would say that probably most people don't have a problem with them not working that kind of job either. That I mentioned this meme that you kept seeing this meme that say, I don't want AI to make art and poetry for me. I want it to do my dishes and my laundry. Those tasks are pretty automated already. Like I have a washing machine and I have a dishwasher, and I don't need it doesn't load and unload those things, but those things are pretty automatic already. I don't know how much more you need. I don't know how much more help you need in that situation. But I guess we could talk about art and
yeah. So is there value
art
then in having AI assistance with poetry and music?
Yeah. It's a vast majority of it is garbage. It's AI slop, right? They call it. It's bad. That number one country song that was fully AI generated was I did not think it was that great. I can't tell you the last pop song that I thought was, intricate and musically well made. It's just kind of the nature of pop music is that might as well be made by a machine. It doesn't have that much soul. But as far as art goes, I think that again, it's if it's garbage, it's garbage. If you can create a truly good piece of art that moves you, and you use AI to do it, then it's still probably good art. And I think, a lot of graphic design is just reusing images or stock images and manipulating them in a certain way. And I don't think using AI to do it is that much different. It's easier to me. I have some art school background as well, so I understand design somewhat, and my prompts to do things aren't simplistic. If it looks like AI to me, I'm not gonna leave it there. It's gotta have some kind of thought behind it to me. You can tell when it's AI, maybe people's parents or their uncle doesn't know, oh, look at this giant rabbit, it's so cute, the size of a human being, this rabbit, it's real. That kind of stuff is obvious to the younger generations that it's AI and deep fakes. But I think that you can make something in it creative, in that the creative thought still does belong to the artist. Rick Rubin said this in his book about creativity, is that it's not the creativity, it's the craftsman issue. And that a person could be the best painter, technically the best painter, and have no soul behind it, not have any creativity behind it. But AI kind of takes the craftsman role of it, rather than the actual creative part. Granted, some prompts are simplistic, and
Sure.
not that creative.
But it democratizes it. It takes that, you don't have to be a craftsman in order to be an artist now.
Yeah, I think there's so much creativity that is locked up in ordinary people's minds that never goes anywhere because of the craftsman issue.
Yeah. Well, we also spoke about sort of the reverse of that, which is like creating art that's not for the purpose of being sold, but rather for the purpose of generating conversation. And that's more visualization and futurism in creating images or videos or music or things like that. That ultimately the craftsman is the human. But the AI visualization becomes, I don't know, what is that? Is that the design or the prototype prior to the actual creation that is made by people?
Yeah, I think it could be a template, and it could be a creative tool that maybe doesn't give you the final product, but like gets you going in the right direction. And that's a lot of how I use with the way I use it and the way I intend to use it, creatively going forward.
Awesome. So my final question for you, kind of after we wrap up all these hesitations and objections to AI, where does your optimism come from?
Wow. So it definitely predates all the AI stuff. There was an astrologer named Rob Brezhny. I think he's still active, and he wrote this article, these horoscopes every week called Free Will Astrology. Do you remember those? They used to be in the back of in Philadelphia, it was the Philadelphia Weekly and the City Paper, and I'm sure it was syndicated in other free weekly publications around the country. And they were, it was really like this poetic pop psychology kind of horoscopes that weren't really anything other than good advice, for anybody. But he wrote a book called Pronoia. And the idea behind pronoia is that it's the opposite of paranoia, where you think everyone's out to get you, everything is a conspiracy against you. Well, pronoia is the concept that the universe is conspiring to shower you with blessings. And it's a great book. And it talks about things like, half of the news should be good news, on at least half. We talked about you don't hear about the success stories psychologically with AI. It's like they don't report how many planes safely took off and landed every day. You hear about if there's a crash. You do not hear that 40,000 planes safely took off and landed today. And when you think like that, it's pretty miraculous, just our everyday, ordinary life, how it all comes together, for us to enjoy life. So that's a good spot of where my optimism comes from. Yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to share about the past, present, or future of AI?
Well, it's, I feel like it's going to advance so quickly, it's really hard to predict where it's going to go. You look at things like, it's okay, so this is a work of science fiction, Star Wars, right? So they build this giant Death Star thing to destroy planets. And you have to think, well, if they have that much engineering knowledge, can't they just make life better for everybody? Right. Why do you have to still have that kind of destructive power? I think that things like war or a lack of creativity I think it's a lack of being able to think in a more useful way. I had a great class when I went to school. It was called Creative Solutions, and it was not necessarily about like art. It was, but it was about like, here is a very vague prompt for you. Go do something with it. And it was a really good exercise in like pure creativity.
Dealing with ambiguity.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge.
like life is every single day.
Absolutely.
And how do you get through it? But I think that I always had taught my child when she was very young that I said, we don't know what jobs are going to be like in the future, but I think that being creative in your thought process is going to be a big part of it. Mm-hmm. And you look at people who are really successful and they don't do things the way other people do.
So if you were to send off our viewers with one sage piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh my. One piece?
Just one.
Oh
Just
my
one.
gosh.
Distill it down.
Be open-minded.
How do people do that?
Get other people's perspectives. I tend to get blinders on. Connect with people. Because people are irreplaceable.
And with that, we'll see you in 2 weeks.